Hello and welcome everyone to the Babylon 5 Retrospective, The Coming of Shadows, Season 2. We're looking at all the episodes of Season 2 in order, and to this week on the show, we are looking at the Episode 2 from Season 2, Revelations. And what will be revealed? What will happen? Will Garibaldi come out of his coma? Will Delenn become a beautiful butterfly? We'll find out tonight. But before we do, let me welcome my co-host, the man who wants to be a beautiful, beautiful butterfly. It's Cam. Say hello, Cam.
Good evening, and correction, I am a beautiful, beautiful butterfly.
That's right. I told you he wants to become one, and he did. So awesome. Spoiler alert. Yeah. Okay. Do we have any administrative stuff to go on? Should we just jump right into it?
Well, there is an important thing that happened, and that is that you have achieved the magnificent number of 595 subscribers.
We are creeping up slowly. Oh, it's like a little ratchet. Yeah, we're only 405 short of our goal, and we've got 5 or 6 days to get it. I know we can do it.
Oh, I was going to say you were 5 from your goal. I guess it's
no. 1,000's the goal. Remember?
Oh, okay. Well, that's pretty.
That's right. There says it right there at the bottom. Yeah. Anyway, we appreciate everybody who's coming in and the subscribers coming in. You know, we're getting a little more watching on our show. People seem to like, especially the Babylon 5 stuff. People are enjoying it, and that's great. I mean, I appreciate that. Cam, I think Cam appreciates that.
Yeah, I certainly do appreciate all the people that show up and chat and keep us honest about various points. And I don't hold it against you that you hate our other show.
Yes. I don't hold it against you either. We'll work on that one show and try to make it less hateful.
Right. We'll try to.
But yeah, I'm really enjoying doing this show anyway. Like it's fun, and we're getting into the meat of it. And I'm getting, I'm like excited now for each show when we're going to talk about this stuff. I'm like, oh, this is like, I think this is a good episode. We had a good episode last time. I mean, the episode itself was good. And I'm like, oh, these are getting good now. I'm getting a little bit excited every time, like.
Yeah, and it's hard to not keep forging ahead and just binging it.
Yeah, it is. I'm trying to, I'm supposed to be the guy who doesn't know anything, so I'm trying to hold myself back. But I'm like, a lot of times, like last week after the show, I went and I watched the next episode, like episode 2. When normally I watch it, a couple days before, but I watch, a week before I'm watching it because I'm like, oh, that was good. I want what happens next. I kind of forget. All right. But anyway, before we do that, let's bring in our guest hosts, Jason, of course, and Death Angel Shadow, our regulars, always with us,
if we're regulars,
giving us their insights.
He keeps wanting to call us guest hosts.
I know. I'm like, if we're regulars, we're not guests.
We're regular guest hosts.
We're panelists. We're
panelists.
This is a panel discussion.
Yeah.
All right.
Panelists. Call us panelists now.
It's kind of like a blood panel, right? You have to. Yeah.
The problem is I got the word guest host written on my card here, and I just can't, I have to follow my script. Let me
scratch it out.
Listen, Snob believes that we're all equal, just some are more equal than others.
Yes,
that's right.
Yes. Right. I read that book.
Okay, I'm going to erase that.
Like
I'll change it.
Didn't end well.
Let me change it, and then next time I will stop saying that because it always says here.
We'll have to remind him again next week. You know that, Jason.
Oh, I'm sure.
No, I'll change it right now. Where's my pencil? Oh, I don't have it. I'll have to.
I mean,
I left my notepad downstairs, so I had to take my notes on the back of the envelope.
Oh crap! I don't have my notes.
How many times have I had to tell Snub you don't have to keep these identifier tags up the whole time? Because when.
Oh yeah, they always get in the way.
I forget how to turn them off. How do you turn them off?
It's a little button. All you got to do is to click the button.
Where is it?
It's in the dashboard.
Dashboard.
Your control panel on the right-hand side of your screen.
On the right-hand side of my screen. No, that's
yeah.
No, let's do housekeeping later. We got 15 people. Let's go.
Let's go. All right. Okay. Well, wait, before we go on, I want to know what I'm supposed to call you guys. What do you want? What do you want me to call you?
We're your regular panelists.
We're the panelists.
Panelists. Okay. From now on, you're panelists. All right. I'll make that change.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get into it. Before we get going, we got to do the trivia.
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 Hit the little button so it doesn't block the thing.
block the thing.
Yeah,
because when you go full screen, Sci-Fi Snob is going to be layered on top of it, and it's going to block some of the stuff. We can't read it.
He was telling you that.
Amateur hour, my God.
Right? I mean, come on.
you know, we've been doing this for how many? What is this? Episode 25,
Something like that.
25th.
24?
You would think you know how to work the buttons by now.
Sometimes that's the charm of the show, is because it's so
Amateur.
amateur.
Amateur is not a bad word, though. You know.
That's right.
See, look, it says
I
Sci-Fi
see.
Snob
Okay.
right up there.
Yeah, I know. I don't know how to take it off.
Well, yeah, you do. It's over in the thing with the lower thirds, the graphics. So, anyway,
Go on.
We'll
Just-
talk.
Just
All
answer the
amateur.
trivia.
We'll talk
Let's get
amateur.
into it.
All right.
What is the ship Sheridan commanded before B5? I'm getting attacked from all sides here, people. Everyone in the chat supports me. I know it though. What is the ship Sheridan commanded before Babylon 5? What is the name of
The Phenomenon.
Delane? Yeah, it's the Phenomenon.
Agmonomenon.
Phenomenon. That is very close. What is the name of Kalane's rogue Mimbari cruiser? What type of showers does Ivana say most of the rooms on the station have? Just
Vibe
shout out in the
showers.
chat while I'm reading them off. Who says, if you're going to kill me, then do so. Otherwise, I have considerable work to do. I like that quote.
That's
What section of government does Hydron claim to be from? Right. And
the tourism department? I don't remember.
everybody wants
something
the
like that.
answers.
Yep.
Yeah.
let's
All right,
reveal
here
it.
are the answers. Of course, the ship is of course
Ministry
called
of-
the Agamemnon,
Yeah.
and the Trigati is the rogue Mimbari
yeah,
cruiser.
yeah.
Vibe
Vibe showers.
showers, yeah, they get the vibe. That's
Sound fun to me.
It's kind of fun, yeah. And of course, Lanier is the one who says, "If you're going to kill me, well delivered." Too, I like this delivery.
Yeah,
And of course,
Pussyfoot
Hedron
Annie.
says he's from the Ministry of Culture, but of course he's a.
It says Ministry of Sci-Fi Snob.
He's Ministry of Sci-Fi. That's yes.
Close enough.
Yes, very much
right.
Just
All right.
It's a simple button.
so. Well, where is it?
Well, I
Yeah,
can't.
I'm saying,
I
it's
can't
in the
see it.
settings.
All right. Everybody's amped up tonight. Let's
All
let's
right,
come on.
let's let it out. Shake it out.
Gonna get going.
Yeah.
Get ready.
I did
right.
the same exact thing like you did, Snob, by the way.
What's that?
I watched this episode after the show. We did the show last week. I went back upstairs and I watched the next episode. And then I watched again tonight in a hurry. Ministry of Sci-Fi. See, Drake, you're absolutely
He's right. Drake,
Yep.
he's that's a smart man. Okay. All right. What else next? Oh, episode summary. Cam. Yeah. Cam, you want to go ahead? And you know what? I forgot. I'm going to grab my notes. I left them upstairs.
All right. I will read
While
slowly.
you're
then.
talking. Vamp for a little bit. Start the thing.
just vamp it. Yeah.
Okay. So here we are. Episode number 24 overall, episode 2 of the season, Revelations, written by J. Michael Straczynski, originally released on November 9th, 1994, and the production code is 202, and so right in line with its release as well. So, and just looking through the list, it looks like everything's pretty aligned, unlike season 1 where it shifted around.
Yeah.
Anyway, Franklin takes extreme measures to save Garibaldi. Delenn emerges from her chrysalis. Sheridan's sister arrives for a visit. Alondo's dealings with Mr. Morden become even more complex, and Jakar returns from his travels with a dire warning.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and while we're waiting on Snob, I think that's probably a pretty good list for the plots right there. There doesn't seem to be a really strong, lead plot and then side plot. They're all kind of side plots intertwining a little bit.
I made a note of the titles for the scenes that the DVD had, and they were Jakar Besieged, A Shadow Man, Saving Garibaldi, Edge of Extinction, The New Delenn, and Ivanova's Report. That's the 6 options that I had if I wanted to jump to a specific segment, I guess. I don't maybe that's what it would be.
Yeah, I think that's more scenes than that was about 6.
Yeah.
I wonder if they had 6. I guess they could have had 6 segments, with commercial breaks if you count the, the teaser and everything.
An Outpost is absolutely correct. A lot of storylines get going on this, and fan the flames on a lot of things. So, you know,
All right, should we go with the detailed,
the short, detailed one.
Yeah,
the short, detailed one? Yeah, we're gonna go short again.
Wait a minute.
Try
We
that.
forgot to welcome everyone in the chat.
Oh, hey,
yes,
everybody
yes.
in the chat.
Cam, will you do the honors?
Sure. We got Q2 Cast showed up first,
Yeah.
and then Outpost Nerd, followed by Death Angel Shadow and myself.
I don't count.
Yeah, and then Michael has joined us as well, and then let's see, coming down, Sci-Fi Snob, of course, Drake Tungsten, welcome.
I got Snugs.
And then Snugs, who has
Yeah.
been spoiling the episode all over Twitter.
Really?
Talking about Mothra and
spoiling a 30-year-old episode on Twitter. Huh?
Yeah, this guy's a problem.
Oh,
Anyway, we'll forge ahead.
we love you anyway.
All right, let me get quickly a little more detailed into the episode. And I basically put down, there's sort of 5 main storylines that are going on in this episode, and they come together. I'm not going to call them story arcs. We can talk about that after. But there's sort of 5 main ones. There's a storyline with Sheridan and his, meeting his sister. He meets his sister. She talks to him about. We learn a lot about his wife, and also about how she died. And he also learns a little bit about, he has this guilt that he thinks it's his fault, and he realizes that it's not really his fault.
That's the end. That jumps right to the end.
So I'm just giving the whole storyline. So it's so everyone knows. Everyone's watched the episode, right? So yeah. We've got Londo's little storyline where his betrayal, his betrayal that he did before, his second betrayal tonight, and him talking to Morden again. Morden coming back. We've got Delenn coming out of her cocoon, coming back to the council, and her changes. And I'll leave that one. We can talk a little bit about that. Yeah. We've got Jakar, his investigation of what's going on, and his going to Zaha Doom, or Khazad-dûm as I like to call it, and finding out that there's some sort of an enemy there, an ancient threat that is slowly growing on these world. And of course, probably the biggest one is the Garibaldi storyline, where he comes out of his coma. He
kind of a tag onto the season finale, and
he can't. He doesn't remember who what happened. I mean, he knows he got shot, but he doesn't know who did it. They use Talia. They go into his brain and find out that it was his aide who shot him in the back, and all the fallout from that, which is the putting this guy, his aide, in prison, having him. We're
going to space him.
Yeah, putting him on the station.
Maybe
saying they're going to. He could be spaced. Him being sent back to Earth, and then that ship, him being transferred to some other ship that they don't know. Basically, he kind of escapes, sort of, but
disappears.
I wonder why.
I guess that's probably a better way.
With all the evidence.
A better way to do it. But we'll get into that. We can talk about that. But those are the overall general storylines that we're going through. But,
and Jakar.
I don't know if you want
Jakar story too, which is I don't know if that's probably where we should start.
Yeah, we can't.
Cam, you could go with the go ahead.
Okay, just brief correction. Jakar did not go to Zaha Doom. He found out about this through, which we can talk about. They tried to send others there, but he wasn't. That's not where he was.
But he gets attacked.
Yeah, the very first opening scene with Jakar, you see him and what I think a couple of other fighter pilots or whatever.
Yeah, there were
clearly Jakar has combat experience. He's not just an ambassador.
Well, real quick, the Snob was asking about the plot lines, and and Jeff, you kind of Snob, while you were away, Jeff mentioned the DVD chapters that were on there, and it's kind of closely aligned.
What I heard them. I never left. I just wanted to hear you guys.
Oh, okay.
If you guys talk about me behind my back. That's all.
Oh, okay. So, what I've got,
I heard a little bit of that.
And you guys can feel free to correct me or alter this. Is I've got Jakar's discovery, reviving Garibaldi, Delenn's awakening, Sheridan's sister, and then the Garibaldi line goes into the investigating the presidential death.
Yeah, it's funny that the DVD doesn't even it
you-
doesn't consider the Sheridan's background story to be really a major point, I guess.
So you got four storylines.
Well, 4 to 5.
Plus, yeah. And the DVD
Yeah.
lists 6, and Sheridan with Lizzie, his sister, and Anna is that we find out. We had no idea, I don't think, up until this episode, right? Well, I mean, he's only been in one other episode.
Well, maybe we can go over that first because it's the lamest.
Yeah. It is. It's kind of in there and spotty, and
it's a relationship kind of thing, and those are my favorite.
Oh yeah, I think those are all of our favorites.
But
right?
it's filling in Sheridan's background a little bit.
Right.
That he was married. His wife has died. Tragically.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just get a little bit with his sister and everything.
It is interesting. I mean, I guess they're portraying it as 2 people in the military life, or 2 people in
She's a civilian.
Well,
Scientist
yeah,
type.
She worked for Earth Force, all right.
yeah. She went to. They were on the edge of known space, I guess, or something like that, and got destroyed. Which I did actually make a note of that point, because I wonder if that might be one of those little plots. I kind of wonder if maybe that ship was destroyed by the Shadow people.
That's a possibility.
Just because it was just it destroyed. It got kind of like the ship that Jakar sent to investigate. It sounded like it kind of got destroyed just coming out of hyperspace or something like that.
Could be related to Catherine. What was going on with her too, though.
Oh, well, it could be. Yeah, but they didn't. I mean,
well,
for all we know,
it's a dangerous place out there, right?
They could all be tied together. They could be all kind of the same thing. Possibly what happened to Catherine was the Shadow people. We just didn't really know.
It's unknown, though. We don't.
Right.
The ship was lost, and
yeah, it's not really a big important point, I don't think.
Yeah, the whole thing is like, okay, it's like annoying little sister. Obviously he dated his sister's best friend.
Yeah, because his sister said she knew her before he did.
Right.
So
yeah. Which I could see that happening.
I must needs point out, though, as I'm watching this episode and I'm seeing Sheridan's interactions with his sister,
mm-hmm.
I'm thinking, is she his sister or is she his sister? Because there's a couple of times I'm like, that's not how my sister and I act.
Yeah, well,
I got a weird vibe.
They didn't look much alike either.
No.
I agree with Jason. I got a little bit of weird vibe too, and she's like leaning on him and putting her head on him and stuff. I'm like,
all right, my audio's low. How about that?
Oh, that's a little better.
Is that better? All right.
It's in Missouri.
So maybe it is. Maybe it's.
Hey, wait a second, Jason.
I got it turned up all the way.
Well, so we get that Sheridan's carrying around a little bit of guilt. I guess that's really the story development.
So he dives into his work, basically. That's how he consoles himself. Is he just works and works. He becomes a workaholic,
and he's good at it. So
yeah,
good for him. Okay, well, that was really boring and dumb.
I think it's important,
right? That was about it. For that
maybe
whole
we'll see
plot
something
line.
in the future. It kind of helps establish him. The first episode is establishes him a lot. This one kind of fills in a little bit more.
Yeah, he was all business in the first one. We didn't, and so now we're seeing the softer side of Sheridan.
Yeah, and I agree. It was kind of boring.
Well, the other part of it. The other part of it, though, I mean, it does give him some emotional depth as a character, but I think also as looking at it as a writer, it sets up a future possibility where emotionally he could be compromised. He's not the stolid, staid, get it done captain. Type of captain. He's not he's not perfect. He doesn't
The
have
softer
he doesn't
side of Sheridan is scam set.
Well, yeah, but I think
Yeah.
also, this idea a lot, and it could also kind of lean into the rest of the characters and how they feel. He feels guilty over his wife's death. Garibaldi feels guilty because he didn't get the word out about the president in time, and now he's
Yeah.
got that baggage to deal with, and and as a result of that, he's going to come down really hard on his lieutenant who shot him in the back. So he's got anger now related to that guilt. You have Londo feeling guilty because of what's going on with him and Morden.
Yeah.
And so it's almost
What,
like this
guilt?
running
Guilt is the theme.
Yeah, it's this underlying theme of everybody's got this thing, this weight hanging on them in the back.
Yeah.
And Jakar not really feeling guilty, and who knows what Kosh is thinking. I mean,
Well,
right? It's
and that brings up a point that I was thinking when I was watching it for the second time tonight. Notice other than what Veer is the only one that's not in it of the main regulars.
Yeah.
And of course Natath.
Well, no, the
different.
new fighter jock's not in it.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
I don't
he's
know.
not
Who
there.
that
Get
is.
used
He's
to
a
that.
random guy still to me. He's nobody special.
Well, you won't be disappointed then.
Yeah. No, I'm like, random guy that showed up at the end. Who the hell is he? That was last week. In case you didn't see it. But yeah, no, I mean everybody except for Veer was pretty much present of the main cast, So
Yeah, it was and again, yeah, you're right. And there were many storylines. So it was a very broad-based episode.
but it didn't feel jump cut like
No, yeah, it
some
it felt
episodes.
fairly
It
smooth.
flowed even with the boring Lizzie, Anna, whatever stuff, and it was at least cut to a minimum, so it didn't bother me because it was like, okay, come on, let's get past this. I don't care about his stupid sister.
I thought the Sheridan stuff was important, so now that Delenn can work on him, like she was.
Well,
working on
and
Sinclair.
that's another thing. He seems a little
Yeah, he was real excited about this.
meeting her.
for Delenn. I don't know.
He's going to be right in there.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know.
It kind of has you wondering what the original storyline was going to be with her and Sheridan.
Or
Sinclair.
with Sinclair.
I mean,
Yeah.
Sinclair, yeah.
Yeah. And
Well-
she's got hair now.
Okay,
Surprise.
should we? Okay,
Dude.
so Franklin kind of weaves in a few different things here,
He
and one of
does.
them is, Delenn does come out of her cocoon, and she seems distressed in some way. So Lanier calls Franklin to come and try and address this.
Right.
And it's weird because, first of all, Lanier swears Franklin to secrecy, which of course he's happy to do because he likes that kind of doctor stuff.
Oh yeah.
But
But he didn't come off smarmy.
no,
He
not
didn't
like
like
last
he
time
did
when he
like
was
he
hitting
did
on
in
the
last
chick. Yeah,
season. Yeah, he was
Yeah.
very smarmy last season, and
right.
he was more. And I think that may come from the director side of things. And I think we talked a little bit about that before.
So settle down, Franklin.
The
Yeah.
thing with that, and when I'm watching the scene and they bring Franklin in to help, my first question is his question. He's like, well, why don't you get a Minbari doctor?
Mhm.
And well, we have to keep the secret. Why? I mean, her metamorphosis is not a secret. Everybody knows that she's been in this cocoon for days.
Yep.
Everybody knows what's going on. She's out of sorts, and something's going to happen. The Minbari probably will already figure out what's happening.
Well,
At the end of the episode, she says that she's done this with her government's okay.
okay,
Right.
but we
She
know that
specifically says
we know that there's a separation though between the top levels of the government and other
The
elements in it.
factions.
Right.
And
whether that's the case or not, if the other Minbari didn't want her to change or not is irrelevant. They know what was happening. Is my point.
Yeah,
Okay,
I think
but-
blessing was a strong word for her to use in that situation.
Yeah, but again, you're not hearing what I'm saying. Having Franklin who has absolutely no idea what's going on with her be the attending doctor because they want to keep something secret that's not going to be a secret. It makes no sense to me because what does Franklin know? He doesn't. I don't know what this is. Is this normal? I mean, he starts pulling the scales and what he's like. He's completely out of his depth.
I have a counterpoint to that. There's no necessarily any reason to believe that a Minbari doctor would know about the metamorphosis thing because this is unusual, and he's trying to keep it quiet because they don't know where it's going. Even Delenn says, "I don't know." He asks her about it. She's like, "I don't know." She doesn't know what's really happening to her.
She doesn't know what happened to herself. Yeah.
So I can see that they want to kind of keep this under wraps until they could really figure it out themselves.
That is true. He is a
but
xenobiologist.
I will acknowledge it. Does that mean you can't trust any Minbari to keep a secret either? It's
I've got a slightly different take.
But how many Minbari have already been in and around on the station and have talked, and they've either talked with Delenn before this thing happened, or they've seen the cocoon. There's plenty of Minbari that have seen it and know that you can't keep it a secret. People know,
right?
A secret one person knows is a secret. A secret two people know is no secret.
But they've not seen what came out of the cocoon, though.
Well, that's true. But I mean, it's Delenn.
Yeah.
Okay,
so,
and this can't be.
Don't tell Londo any secrets.
Okay, Snob. What's your
yeah? So my thing is, I think it's the writing is kind of giving us a little more than it should be at this point because we know that Delenn has come into this cocoon, and what she's trying to do is she's bridging the gap between humans and the Minbari. Yeah. So she's becoming part human, right?
But she looks like a Drazi.
Yeah, but she's becoming part human, right? So she's more human than she's a mix between the two of some percentage, right? So that's why I think they're calling the doctor partially to say, oh, because she's, I mean, I don't know how Lanier knows or Delenn knows that maybe they know that she's going to be part human, and that they want him because he knows about humans. But again, she said something went wrong. She said, yeah, but she said that she didn't know what was going to happen. And remember, they're before that. It doesn't quite work out 100% because they're saying before, we don't know what she's going to come out with. They didn't come out like, we're going to put her in this thing and hopefully she'll come out half human and then it'll be better understanding, right? Like they don't know what's going to happen.
Let's look at it from yet another standpoint, and that is that the whole thing about her being scaly and everything was stupid and really served no purpose other than to be like, oh no, for half a scene. It's like it didn't need to be that at all. It didn't need to be there.
Yeah, I didn't understand why. I mean, what was the point of that side of things, of her skin breaking off? And it's like,
I think they wanted to delay it for the big reveal.
You think so?
They didn't want to bring in a Minbari doctor for whatever reason. So
they wanted to lower expectations too. It's like, oh my God, she's hideous.
Yeah. But she's got hair now.
It adds to the whole thing. What's happening to me when she says that?
Yeah, yeah.
When is she going to fly?
She doesn't quite know what's going on.
Well, should we just cut to the chase on that? Delenn's. Well, maybe we should talk about it. Maybe we should talk about the first scene where they're in the council.
Oh, and Jakar is
scene. Yes.
Londo was throwing a fit about Jakar being absent and about Delenn being indisposed. Kosh is there, which is interesting.
You notice that, eh? Kosh is now interested in what's going on in the council.
Right.
I think that's a big thing that he's there.
But basically, 2 of the 5 main representatives are gone. Jakar and Delenn, and Londo's, got business he wants to attend to apparently, and so he's actually puts forth a motion to have them officially replaced, by their governments, meaning new representatives.
To sanction them and have them replaced, yeah.
Yeah, which I'm guessing is part of Londo, a little bit of a power play there, because then he's the one that knows more than anybody else. Kosh doesn't say anything, and then the 3 others are all brand new. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because he kind of caused, he Hack caused this problem, and now he's all.
Well, he
upset
certainly
about it.
contributed to it. I don't think he caused it, but he definitely
Well,
has been a
he's
major
got a big
contributor.
hand in it.
Yeah. Well,
Well-
he's a useful idiot.
Well, we'll see where that goes.
I don't think he's an idiot. I think he's. I mean, he's
So-
doing. He doesn't
He
have
plays.
much.
He plays
He's not
one
really
anyways.
worried about the fact that, hey, the reason Jakar's not here definitely is because of him, right? But he's more than happy.
Yeah,
to
definitely.
be,
The reason.
victim
Yeah,
instead.
yeah. Jakar is out seeking answers to
yeah,
stuff,
and-
as a result of his actions, or
Right.
actions that he helped.
well, so
facilitate.
Jakar they were in Sector 37, right? They went to go investigate.
Right.
Is that where they were?
Quadrant. Yeah, that's where they were.
So Jakar and some others in Narn Heavy Fighters, which are kind of larger on the larger side for fighters,
Right.
were out there, and they're basically being chased down by some other small ships. They weren't capital ships, and basically they're all going to get wiped out, and the other members of his team there cover his escape, basically, so he survives to report what happened. So they sacrifice themselves.
Well, one of them actually pulls a kamikaze move,
Right.
which actually did work.
Mhm.
Did you notice that?
It did.
It did work against that ship.
Yeah, and the ships.
And he
they're
didn't
kind
even
of
have to go to light speed to do it.
No, he
That's
didn't
right.
have to pull what's her name? Honda? No,
Well, it doesn't
whole
matter. We
maneuver.
speak no
The
such
whole
name here.
the
That movie doesn't
Lando?
exist.
Right.
What was her name? I don't remember.
It doesn't
don't-
matter.
She was
Stricken from
nobody.
the record.
Yep, I agree.
Anyway, so Jakar does show back up, and correct me if I'm wrong. He goes in and sneaks back in, and then that's when we see him talking to Toth, right?
Yeah, somehow he made it
Toth.
back on board, and nobody knows he's there yet because he's in the room. He's like,
that's
"Close the door."
suspicious. It was like,
how did
hey,
he get in there?
How did he do that?
He's probably
Why
got
did
all
he do
kinds
it?
of black market connections.
He didn't want anybody to know he was back.
And we did mention that there was the new Natoth. So there's a new actress that's playing Natoth at this point.
She's got a higher pitched voice.
Yeah, she was noticeably different to me.
Yeah, yeah. Her
Um,
face structure, her facial structure is different. The
And
eyes are a little
her-
different.
Yeah, she did have a good scene at the beginning with Londo. Londo said something, kind of challenging her in the council, and she just kind of looks at him like, whatever, which was good. But
Mary Kay Adams, yes.
yeah. What do
Well,
you guys think? Did it stand out to you?
Yeah, it's a noticeable change. I mean, you have the benefit of the prosthetics to hide some of it, so that's an advantage. If she had just come in, if you had some brand new person playing Talia, for instance, that would have gone
Sore thumb.
Well,
Everything
Talia
was
was the new one playing the telepath.
Yeah.
They just switched the character.
That's
well,
true.
yeah, they recast the telepath, but
Right.
it was a brand new character instead of her stepping into the role.
Right.
Whereas here with Natoth, we were on number 3, number 4.
No, I thought we were on number 2.
It's number 2 character, but the first Narn assistant was a different character.
Was a
And then-
different character.
Then
yeah.
Natoth, so
So
there's
this
been
is-
one,
this is
and
the
then
second-
two.
This is
Natoths.
Natoth number 2. Yeah.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where if the prosthetics help, and
I think
so I imagine she'll
She'll be
lean
fine.
into it. She'll slide into the character and make it her own thing, and
Yeah.
and it'll be fine. It's just one of those things where it's kind of jarring to start with.
You're like, who's that? And then they kind of have to answer that.
Well,
Natoth.
and I think that does Jakar does that when he addresses her a couple of different times and I think they even say her name at the first scene in the council room too.
Yes.
Natoth, where's your boss? So you do it organically as part of that, and it's okay, it's fine. It's like, oh, okay, I know who this is. So I think it'll be all right.
Yeah.
So-
She does come off to me. So the other Natoth came off like a schoolmarm.
Yeah.
or maybe the mean librarian type, that haughtiness. This one doesn't, from this episode, anyways. From what we've seen of her, she comes off differently. She doesn't quite have that tone. So tonally, she's different.
Yeah,
To
you
me,
could attribute that to her being worried about Jakar, though. Maybe.
maybe we'll see. We'll see how she progresses.
Yeah.
Well, so Jakar comes back with a very different attitude.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He
He's
is
shaken.
Yeah, he is, and he's done some good research in this short period of time here. Oh, Snuggy, my God. And he's making some strong claims, and he actually runs into Londo, and his whole attitude towards Londo is different. He's like, hey, I want you wiped out, but I think we need to work together. I mean, it was staggering to see that sort of a change. What you guys think?
Yeah, he basically come out and he said,
but he did say that he'd like to kill the Centauri still.
well,
Right.
is that the debt. I think did he use the phrase debt will only be paid with blood, with Centauri blood, but this is bigger. Basically, is what he's saying.
Yeah.
If both of our civilizations are to survive,
Well,
we will need to team up, and not just us,
Yeah.
the
And-
humans,
and he's willing, again, they, from the first season, everybody's playing their cards close to the vest, and suddenly Jakar's like, I'm spilling the beans, which, again, is important, as we see here. But does somebody want to go into what he revealed?
Well, he said, he's talking about Jaquan, and says 1,000 years the darkness has come again. So it's interesting that it's 1,000 years.
He's reading prophecy out of his.
His religion
from 1,000 years ago.
Because he says, "Weep for the future, weep for us all." And then he talks about that, after 1,000 years, and he goes into the explanation about how it nearly took out all the stars, or something like that. The darkness nearly took out all the stars. So, the fact that he's normally the Narn they're trying to be proud warrior people, because obviously the agrarian thing didn't work out for him. But yeah, now, but at this point, he's like, yeah, we're gonna have to all kind of pool our resources together to stop this greater threat.
Yeah.
He does.
We can kill each other later. Right now, we
we'll fight later. Right now, this is bigger than our individual squabbles. This could literally wipe out everybody.
Yeah, and so he's actively, trying to, he goes to the council and spills this and is suggesting they take action. That they start to move on this.
And he goes so far as to tell them, "Hey, I've already got a ship that's going to be out there. It should be out there at such and such a time, blah, blah, blah."
And tells the plan. Yeah, exactly. He says
he gives the plans right to Londo.
We get to mention, he mentions this is Ahadum thing, and that this was a place that, in the past, these planets, this enemy, resided on all these different planets. But yeah, that was like their home base or something, perhaps.
Right.
And so he has this plan where they're going to send a ship, they're going to jump in, take some readings or whatever, and then jump back out before anyone can do anything.
Surprise.
Right. Well, who wants to say what happened to some of that?
Well, before we get there, in this council meeting, I know we're cutting in, we're joining in progress, right? Like they say in radio, we're jipping. But we don't get all of the information that he's just given to all of them. We don't know what he's told them. He sits there and goes, "I've told you everything here. I've told you all of this stuff. We have to work together." But we don't hear any of that, which I find it's an interesting creative choice, because it still leaves the audience in the dark about what this coming threat is, and you can string that out and do the reveals and whatnot. But now all of your cast, all of your characters are working with information that the audience doesn't have yet.
And I also get the sense that they don't necessarily believe it because he's referencing like his religious books and everything.
Right.
Yeah.
And, he's very convinced of it, but it's not clear that they are.
And Sheridan's like, okay, well, what do you want me to do about it? What are we supposed to do with this information? Because like I said, there's nothing is verified yet. We don't actually know anything. We just know what you're telling us.
Right, but that's why and then he's like, "Well, I'll prove it to you because I'm sending a ship to do that." So he's got all his ducks in a row. He's not just waving his arms about this.
Yeah. He says it threatens everyone, and except maybe the Vorlons. he does kind of make an exception.
Right. He's like, I don't need
because I don't know. The Van Vorlons probably already know who this is.
So I'm really surprised we didn't get a scene commenting on Jakar's change in demeanor. You could. I mean, if Sinclair had still been there, maybe we would have gotten something between him and Garibaldi or between him and Ivanova. Man, Jakar's really exercised about this. He's acting so completely out of character. But we don't get that. We don't get that commentary. The crew noticing Jakar's change in attitude, because up until this point it's been Narns for Narns, and we're gonna be the ones that win out at the end, and he's in your face a lot. And now here he is, hat in hand. He's like, "Oh, we got to work together because this thing is coming." It's it's
right,
a complete 180 for him, and nobody comments on it.
Right, and it doesn't appear to be, oh, and this is really to benefit me,
Right. Now, it's not a scheme.
Right. Now, importantly, of course, here we saw that Lando had a little short scene where he met with Mr. Morden again.
Yeah.
And he explained, he seemed nervous, like, this isn't going to get connected to me, meaning the destruction of Outpost in Sector 37, the Narn Outpost. And Morden assures him, oh, no, this will never be traced back to you, but you're benefiting from it because you said it was going to happen, kind of thing. So Lando gets the best of both worlds, and he says, just one little thing, as a favor, part of our deal is let me know anything you hear about any goings on in the Outer Rim, no matter how small it might seem. Well, then, of course, Jakar tells them about all this, and Lando reports exactly the plan, the Narn's plan to Morden.
Which obviously Jakar figures out that it had to be somebody here in that meeting.
Yeah, you're skipping what happened, but
well, yeah.
Go ahead, talk about that.
I was gonna say, so the ship, this was it, heavy cruiser, I think, comes out.
Cruiser. Yeah,
I think it was a cruiser. Yeah, like comes through the gate, or through the jumps in, and as soon as they're there, the shadow ships attack. They're already waiting for it, and 2 hits and it was done. Like the first hit disabled it, like a hit cut right through the middle, and it just boom. Yeah. So clearly no survivors.
Right, and but they do get a report that the ship was destroyed.
Yeah.
How do they know that?
Yeah, that's a good question. Whether they were supposed to check in or there was a beacon or something.
They knew where they were going, and apparently there's a cooldown coming out of a gate.
But how exactly does that? I mean, were they in contact? And now we know that you can send a signal through a jump gate while it's open, but it wasn't open. Well, there wasn't anything behind them that was still open. It closed.
But they did know where it was going, and it never checked back in because it was supposed to come in, do its readings, and jump right back out. So,
but they do have a story about it, though. They because they have a theory on how it got destroyed. It was some kind of malfunction with the hyperspace gate.
Yeah, so but again, how would they know that?
Yeah, it's not explained. Right.
See, and that was the other thing Minnie and I were talking about with the hyperspace, the way hyperspace works in this show, because in some places they do the hyperspace and they come in and they do it without a gate. Whereas you've got a jump gate there next to the station.
Yeah, the capital ships can open their own
Right.
Yeah,
Some
the
ships,
subspace.
ship
some
is big
ships,
enough and has enough
If the
power.
ship's
It
big enough.
can,
Okay, all
Yeah.
right.
and it has the technology. It can open itself up. Fighters,
smaller
no.
ships.
I
Yeah,
think
smaller
probably around the
ships.
cruiser level. I think that's what they're kind of suggesting.
Yeah.
Cruisers can do it. Anything smaller, no. Anything,
The phenomenon, Agmenomenon, whatever it is.
Agamemnon.
I think that one can create its own, can't it?
Yeah, capital ships. I
Capital,
think
yeah.
pretty much all of them can. But anyway, so they like Jason points out, they didn't really explain exactly how that happened, but they do have a story that came through that it was destroyed due to some sort of mishap. But then Jeff, as you were saying, Jakar, is like, quickly realized it's like the only people that knew are the ones that I told about this, and then he kind of.
Mhm.
Kind of goes mum then, and he says something like it's all
Well,
too late now. or
Sheridan
something.
goes so far as to say, "Are you suggesting something, or what are you suggesting?"
they
And
know
he's
that.
like, "Nothing."
Uncharacteristically, right? Another where instead of being like, "No, it's Londo,"
Yeah, right.
he just keeps it quiet.
Well,
at
because
that point.
I guess you would think that he knows, he's so shaken from what he's seen that if Londo and the Centauri are in bed with these shadow people, that does not bode well for anybody.
Yeah, I don't think he's put that together yet, but he did quickly realize that someone leaked, right? There's
Yeah, the
Well,
information got out,
I'm
and
having
the shadow acquired it.
I'm having a tough time figuring out where Londo is on this stuff, because in the beginning, when he starts this arrangement with Morden, he clearly, you see it in his face. I'm making a deal with the devil and I'm going to regret this. And in this episode, it's almost like he relishes the idea. It's a complete 180 on his view of this arrangement. It's like, oh, well, I think I kind of like this. It's like that's out of character. It doesn't seem like it would be consistent, because he. Now I also get the sense that he's playing Morden a little bit. He's basically playing both sides against the middle, but it doesn't seem like his attitude toward the arrangement with Morden is the same as it was last season.
I see it a little differently. I think that when he started out, it was like, Morden came to him with big promises, and he was kind of frustrated. He's like, "Yeah, go ahead, do it."
And
Right.
he
And
was
then-
skeptical too.
Well, but he was confident enough that he reported it to his government, and then it happened, and I think he didn't expect it to be so. He didn't expect them to be wiped out, and then that's when he got kind of scared. And then his asking Morden about, are they going to find out about this in this episode, is him trying to make sure that he's covering his ass on that.
Yeah.
So, but I think you're right. I think he is kind of between, this is a little more than I expected, and hey, this could really benefit me. So I think he is between those two things.
So Outpost has got an interesting point. It says it's not the same because he is scared in his part that his part in it would get exposed. So maybe he's fearing for his own skin as opposed to fearing.
Maybe.
He might not want
Maybe.
a bunch of Narns coming after him.
Or
He's
for that matter,
obviously
Earthers.
he's happy to have his government know about it, because then that puts him up in their sense, that elevates his status. But it would be a big problem if the Narns and the Earthers and all the rest of them knew. He might have more difficulty on the station.
Yeah, but when this whole thing started, you get a sense that he's realizing, I'm going to get blackmailed. Yeah, I'm going to get compromised by this arrangement. At some point, it's going to bite me in the back.
Yeah, I think he does realize that, and
But I don't get that sense at all in this episode.
Well,
I
think
don't get anything like that from
Well,
him.
There,
Well,
there was a kind of a look that he
he's
gave
worrying about
of
it coming
concern.
back at them. I think that's a pretty good indicator that he's
Yeah.
like, he calls Morton. He says, "This isn't going to come back on me." That's a pretty big indicator that.
Well, and
he's worried about
he even when he's talking to him, he says, well, why don't you just, because he said, well, why not just wipe out the Narn homeworld? And what was the response that he got? One thing at a time.
Yeah.
Implying that that's on the agenda at some point.
Which I thought that was a great little moment there. That it's like he's being flippant, and Morden's just like, yeah.
Well, and that's what got him into this the first time, was being
right.
flippant.
But also Londo did have a reaction when they found out that the Narn ship was destroyed right before Jakar figured out someone leaked it. Because Londo was like, oh, yeah. I mean, he put it together too.
Right.
It's like, oh, that information that I gave Morden, caused this.
But there's two different things there to be concerned about. One, you can be, Londo can be concerned that his personal involvement in passing on information he's going to get caught with that.
Right.
That's one aspect of it, with relation to Jakar and the rest of the ambassadors and all that other stuff. The other aspect, the aspect I'm talking about is the Morden side. It's not, I'm worried that I'm going to get caught. That's here. It's, what is this going to cost me in my soul to keep this arrangement going? That's the piece that's missing this time out. That's what I'm talking about. Because this is one of those things where it's going to escalate. And he realizes that when he first starts in last year's episode. This time, or last season, this time it's almost like he's embracing it, and that feels out of character to me, because of everything else that we've seen from Londo. Yeah, he's acting out of self-interest, but he's pirate with a heart of gold type, and this feels out of character a little bit for me, for him to actually lean into this. I
think he's feeling a little bit slimy.
Maybe. But see, I don't get a sense of that in this time.
Really? Yeah. And to address Michael, I'm saying that not Morden being flippant. Morden was very serious about his response. He's like, one thing at a time.
Yeah.
And the implication being that, yes, we can do this, and this is on our agenda at some point in time.
About Londo's,
but Londo was kind of like, well, why not just the whole Narn homeworld? In he was being flippant, if anything, and Morden came back with a very serious, yes, we can do this.
So
it's not the right time yet, is basically the implication.
I'm going to disagree with Jason. I don't think he is that worried about it. I mean, every politician has to, they're beholden to somebody. In order to get where they are, they have to, compromise. And it's very typical, whether they're taking money from donors or whatever it is in our society. So this is just one step that Londo is doing. I mean, I think he's trying to push himself up in status, up in the political realm somehow. And this is a way of him doing it. So I think he is concerned that, I'm going to have to, maybe have to, this might come back to bite me in the ass a little bit. But I mean, that's the problem with anything, right? Anytime you're asking someone for support for something, you're going to have to give a favor back, and it might be more than you want to give. So I think he's going to, my guess is that in the story, he's going to come to realize that it's probably going to be a payment. It's going to be too big, but I don't know that he might suspect that, but he's kind of, this is what has to be done in order to, get my status back or get it up, whatever it is. So I'm not sure that he's as, as big a heart of gold as you think he does. He's maybe a little bit less than that. I don't know. But
well, he certainly does act out of self-interest, sure, but you think about that episode with the two kids that wanted to get married.
Right.
stuff like that. He done, the relationship that he's got with Garibaldi.
It's kind of benevolent.
He is, and he's a rogue.
He's a benevolent
He's-
buffoon.
He's Hondo Onaka. I mean,
Yeah.
it's the same kind of personality.
Yeah.
And that doesn't fit with, oh yeah, I'm just going to completely go along with these people who are capable of genocide.
Well, I think
just
he's
casually joke about it.
Yeah, I think he's going between, like he goes between the two. Like he at some points
He's vacillating.
He's
vacillating.
he's depressed, or he's like, nothing's ever gonna go. So I might as well be, have some fun. I might as well drink. I might as well gamble. I might as well, amuse myself by poking fun at
throw
Garibaldi,
caution to the wind,
or try to get these people.
But that's
and then other time, but then he's like,
hang on. That's driven by a sense of personal loss for him.
Yes,
And that's not having to do with
or personal failure.
My status of my people. It's me.
Well,
I'm gonna do this because I'm stuck out here in the hind end of nowhere, and I just got to make the best of it. So I'm just gonna party on, dudes.
But he's also, but there's also a sense of failure too, right? Like his
Right.
life, he's not as powerful or as high status as he wished to be, right? So now
Right.
he sees an opportunity to become, perhaps regain that status or get the status that he thinks he deserves or that he wants to have. And, he's grabbing for it. So those two different aspects, I see how he can vacillate between them.
But last season, when he sat there and he goes, "Oh, I can be a hero for this," he also felt the hook, and he's like, "Oh crap, what am I about to get into?"
Well,
You saw
because
that in the
he is
scene.
experienced.
It's not there. It's not there in this one.
Yeah, he's
I'm
experienced. He
standing-
You're
knows
not
that there's
feeling
a
it yet.
problem, right? He knows that he's going to have to pay. Nothing's free.
Right,
Definitely.
but see, you don't get any sense of that in this episode. That's my point.
I don't know. I do, but
I don't know. Yeah, okay,
I don't think they've sold you on it. Maybe.
not yet.
I-
Well,
Yeah.
no, 'cause it's inconsistent with what we've seen already.
We saw him paying his small price so far, which is that he's telling secrets, and we saw that he noticed the consequences of it. Now, whether he's bothered by those particular consequences yet, is not clear. But if he's believing Jakar's story at all, and that they were looking for valuable information to know more that might benefit them all, and that was cut off by his action, then he would be aware of at least, his part in it.
Yeah, and I think that I'm not denying you're wrong, Jason. We don't see a big, but like my thought is that I'm expecting we're gonna see something later on in the season.
I can guarantee you are going to see Lando's story
evolve.
I'm sure.
Yes, yes. You're This is definitely something you're going to see.
Beginning of an arc. I'm
Yeah.
sure.
So I'm not really that concerned that in this episode we don't see that he's like he feels bad about it or he
Maybe his
has
conscience hasn't caught up to him yet.
Yeah, he doesn't have that that conflict, or we don't see it, because I expect we're going to see it in some other episodes.
It's going to start gnawing at it.
If I can allude to something, no spoilers here, but next episode there is one of my favorite scenes in the entire series that involves Lando, and you will be satisfied by what you see with it. Meaning, it is a very definitive.
You mean your
scene.
favorite scene wasn't him crawling on the table?
Well, that was a good one too. Lando has so many good ones, but
Yeah.
but it's it's a very meaningful scene for the series that comes next episode. So watch for it. You'll know it when you see it.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, I think it's going to definitely get interesting. Period. There's clearly a lot of things in motion at this point, and things are speeding up. Obviously the Narns have lost some ships, but I think we'll see some I don't know. I think we'll see some destruction of some other vessels from else besides the Narn. And I think that maybe we have, like I mentioned before, you got to wonder if maybe Sheridan's, I guess that was his wife, right? interesting relationship that they had, I guess, being apart.
The one on the video.
Yeah.
Funnily
And
enough, that's Tasha Yar's sister, by the way.
the actress.
Oh,
Yeah.
was it? I
Yeah,
didn't
she
recognize
played Ishara. And this
Okay.
is the only time we see her playing the part.
Okay, so we've talked about Londo's betrayal. I think that's a fairly small part of this episode, but it's kind of interesting. Do you want to go about? Do we want to move on to?
Sure. Well,
we
we've
move
got
on to who?
we-
Garibaldi. That's the big.
yeah, we've
that's
got the
big-
Garibaldi and Franklin.
Yeah.
So basically, Franklin comes to Sheridan at the club because apparently that's a thing now. The after
Yeah,
hours club,
with the jazz music.
right? Where people dress
Well, they
casually.
spent a bunch of money on the set. They need to use it. They
Right, yeah.
They gotta,
Well, good.
They gotta amortize the cost.
Was he wearing Zeke Avericis or something? I don't know.
Close.
Yeah, I kind of had flashbacks.
Yeah. But so Franklin comes and he says he wants to talk to Sheridan about something, and he says Garibaldi's not getting better, and then he reveals this this thing about the alien machine that was used last season to heal people, but that it's
nice little tie-in.
What was that?
Yeah,
that's a nice little tie-in.
Yeah, right. Yeah. A good call back there, and Franklin's looking for his permission to use it. So that's kind of good that Franklin's not just going off on his uppity, snotty doctor routine. He's actually following the chain of command here a little bit.
Right.
And so, long story short, he agrees, but then there's a little crossover here with Sheridan's story with his sister and his guilt and everything. Is that as a result of that, he kind of comes in and is like, because it was a whole, I could have done this, thing. And so he comes and says that he wants to be the one, hooked up to the machine. Garibaldi's under his command. So he's responsible for him.
He's responsible. Yeah.
And then they kind of cut a deal that they'll split it. They'll each give a little bit of their life force or whatever.
Wouldn't be good to lose his chief of security 2 weeks in. Wouldn't look good on his resume. Although technically this happened on his predecessor's watch. So
well, although the thing that I like about this part is, Franklin's willing to do the thing, but I see their motivations being completely different. It's I want to help Garibaldi. For Franklin, it's I'm going to do this myself because I want to be. I'm going to be the hero and use this alien device to save lives. There's a piece of that ego. Feels like in that, whereas Sheridan comes in and is like, no, I'm responsible for the lives of the crew under my command. I will take the risk. I'll take the hit. And then he gets logical and says,
we'll split the difference.
If you're the one under the machine and you're the doctor and something goes wrong, that's probably a bad thing, trademark register, whatever, that's the thing. So, for him to come in and basically say, no, Franklin, you're not the one who gets to do this, which makes complete sense, because if anything were to happen to Franklin while going through this process, you lose them both, possibly.
Yeah.
Well, what you mean, Garibaldi and Franklin? Yeah.
And
so you gotta have a neutral, somebody there that's there to observe.
You notice when Sheridan shows up, it's not like there's someone else there to assist Franklin. Like he's gonna do it. It looks like he's doing it by himself.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Which is not very good doctoring. I'm still not impressed with this character.
Doesn't have a nurse, but we know he does because we've seen
he's got a whole staff.
Yeah.
And why aren't they doing this in sickbay?
Yeah. So hush
in that room. that super sealed room.
Yeah. Did they? Who moved him? Did Franklin move him? Did the staff know that Franklin moved him? Did the staff help him move Garibaldi? I mean, all this, it doesn't make any sense. I don't know.
Well, it was just it was just his chance to show off his hairy chest. I don't know. Did not need to see that much of that man's chest.
Well, you're talking about Garibaldi at that point.
Yes, God. I'm like, really? Put a shirt on him. Put a. Why didn't he have a thing on? You know?
Yeah, he needs a hospital gown or a jumpsuit.
Yeah.
Or something, you know.
Listen, they're trying to bring in the chicks to the show.
Star Trek's got the tracksuits. Let's do that.
Oh, it's like, yeah, maybe it was. It was they were trying to reach out to the female audience. I don't know. I mean, Bruce Boxleitner or Leitner, Boxleitner, is that what it is?
Boxleitner, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, he comes from Scarecrow and Mrs. King, among other things.
Mm-hmm.
So, and my mom loved that show. So,
oh, it was a fun show. It absolutely was.
Yeah, because he was a secret agent, right? And so,
well, and before that, you had Bring 'Em Back Alive, where he played Frank Buck, and then and then of course he's Tron. So
right.
you've got legacy there with other with fans from other
genres.
Other
he's kind of crosses it. Yeah. And Garibaldi is I don't know what his actor was in before, but at any rate, I think you're
seeing Jerry Doyle in anything before this.
Yeah.
Okay, but okay, so they make go ahead, Cam.
So it works. Basically, they do revive Garibaldi.
Right.
And while he's not in fighting shape by any means, he is out of his coma. And then this his security assistant guy is still lurking around there.
Tapped into the comms, apparently.
What's the first thing Garibaldi says when he gets up?
Well, he says, "I don't know you."
Nope.
No, he's like, did they?
Oh yeah,
we got the assassination.
No, that's not the first thing he says.
I need water. What does he say?
What's up, Doc?
Oh yeah.
And I'm wondering if that's a callback to when him and Delenn are watching cartoons in the first season.
Well, he was watching Daffy Duck, right? Was he
watching
Marvin Martian?
A Looney Tunes.
They were watching Looney Tunes, right? So
yeah.
Anyway, that's just.
But they weren't watching Bugs Bunny. But I did see
but
that.
It was Looney Tunes, yeah. Yes. So I wonder if that was a little bit of a call to that. But anyway,
probably.
Could be.
Sorry. Go on.
Maybe even a poke at Warner Brothers for, something.
Yeah. Go ahead, Cam. Sorry.
No, that's it. So they this kind of moves into the whole storyline with the assassination.
And then Sheridan's all smiley at him, and he's like, "I don't know you," which is kind of weird. The way it came off, I don't know. Didn't it seem kind of weird to you guys? I don't know you.
You wake up from a coma.
But again, yeah.
The president's been. There's been an assassination plot against the president. You trusted the guy before, and now is some new guy. You're like, who the hell is this guy?
Well, not only that, but he's uncovered a conspiracy to assassinate the president on the ship, and now suddenly here's this new officer. I don't know you. I'm chief of security. I don't know who you are, but I have to talk about this stuff. But I don't know. I don't know who you are, so I don't know if I can trust you or not.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with that. Post nerd
in the back.
Yeah, I just got shot in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who the heck's this guy? I mean, I'm not. He's naturally suspicious about everything.
Yeah.
I agree with that. Post nerd there. Yeah.
Well, and clearly there's some implications.
I think Ivanova being there is going to make him a little bit, right? Like
it helps.
She's standing beside him. She's not giving him some sort of sign that's saying, shut up, this guy's untrustworthy or something like that.
Right.
I'm assuming he looks over at her and she's got a positive or neutral expression. Or
well, and the way he says it, he says, "I don't know you," instead of other things that he could say that would indicate more suspicion and mistrust. He's like, "I don't know you." He's fishing for information.
Yeah.
But he's not doing it from a standpoint of complete defensive anger, claws out. It's, you're in uniform, but I don't know who you are. Somebody better tell me who you are right now before I decide what my next step is.
Yeah. Well, and then of course,
And Sheridan would know that. Like Sheridan would understand that. Like he knows that this guy's been shot in the back. He's chief of security. I'm a new guy here. He doesn't know me. There is, trust is required amongst, people. Some people think that the
Well, your
military.
top
Well,
officers,
I
yeah.
just listen to this guy, and this guy tells me what to do, and I just do it. It's
Yeah.
there is some personal trust and relationships that are required. So
yeah. Well, and it's interesting. Of course, interesting that he asks for Talia specifically.
well, that's not right then there, right? Like that's
No, but later on, as he's recovering, because he's now out of the coma, but he can't remember anything. So, I think it was the next scene where we saw him, where his right hand, his real, what we would consider his real top cop, not necessarily his little protege that is the one that stabbed him in the back or literally shot him in the back, but his top cop there, shows up.
Lou.
Yeah. And he's kind of a semi-regular too, isn't he?
Yeah, he's been in several episodes.
Yeah. So, and he's bringing in Talia. So clearly he made a request, but I do find it funny that, this guy just is able to listen to anything. And I did like how they got him out of his office. I guess that was, you got to see it. She's got butterfly wings and everything.
Well, we just make it clear that the aid is there when Garibaldi first wakes up and Sheridan and Ivanova are there, and he can't remember anything. And then
because he was reaching for his sidearm, which is
oh
boy, that would be and he's like, okay, he can't remember
and then
anything.
it's later on that it's after that he can't remember anything, and he says, bring Talia, let me use the hated cycle
jog the memory. Yeah, but I found it funny that he went to that extreme to say, hey, I want you to see if there's anything I need to know if there's anything that maybe I can't grasp or I can't pull out. And and for him to trust Talia, of course, he kind of had a little thing with Talia anyways, where he liked to always be in the elevator whenever she was trying to use it.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit. How about him, him bringing in Talia? He's not really trustful of Psychor. He doesn't really like them.
Right.
I mean, he kind of likes Talia because he's been messing with her last season a little bit. And, by messing, I mean...
Been punking, basically.
Punking her a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So, let's talk about that.
I think it's driven by a sense of immediacy because, I need to warn people that the president's going to be killed. Oh, no, the president's been killed. I'm too late.
Well, we got to find out.
Now we have to find out what happened, who got me.
Yeah.
So we can at least nip this part of the conspiracy in the bud, and maybe we grab him. We can start pulling that thread, and we can figure out who else is involved in this mess.
And of course, the president is going to personally oversee it.
Right. That was just shy of absurd.
Is there any more about Talia though before we go into that?
Well, the Talia thing is she's she knows he doesn't trust her, and the fact that he's asking specifically for her to dig around in his head
means it's pretty important.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's willing to, because I mean that was a whole standoff before in the previous season, right? Going in and messing with your mind.
And not only that, on her side of it,
she was apprehensive.
Do it.
Yeah.
Because we've seen in some of those cases where she's actually gone into people's heads, it's not a very pleasant experience for her.
Right.
And so now she's got to go in and see this thing.
And this was a deep scan. She told him straight up, I have to do a deep scan. You're going to feel it.
And that's a missed opportunity too, because when she sits there and she says, this is going to be a little bit uncomfortable, it would have been perfect for Garibaldi to look at her and say, hey lady, I just got shot in the back. Just like, missed opportunity for a quick comeback. That was such a perfect spot for that kind of a line.
Well, he could have just said something like, she said, this is going to hurt. And he could have said more than being shot in the back.
Yeah. Something like that is like, this is not going to be anything. Let's do this. But for her to be willing to do it and to go that suggests a little bit more of a movement of trust toward him
Right.
as well.
I think that's a in their relationship, as colleagues. I think that's him going out on a limb and saying, "Look, I need your help.
Yeah.
You have a talent that I need. Normally, I would be opposed to it being forced upon me, but in this case, I need to know this information. I want you to get it from, find out if there's something that I'm not seeing, which clearly there was, because he, what he winds up seeing the reflection of, his young protege, as he said, I treated you like a brother,
What gets me wondering on that though is when they did the flashback, him seeing, we'll call him Jack. I think there's calling him seeing in that reflection.
Mhm.
That's an angle that we did not get
Mhm.
in the first season. So did they shoot it and then they superimposed the reflection into season 2? Or did they shoot this scene while everybody was there, knowing that we were going to get a flashback later?
That's a good question. I don't think we can even know the answer to that, can we?
I don't know.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, they could have superimposed the reflection of him on there. Obviously, I'm sure it took a little bit of angle work to get the reflection to show up,
Right. And
certain lighting and stuff like that.
What's he reflecting on? No.
Right.
But,
But I don't know what it was. Was it maybe it was a
I
shield
don't
for
know.
my helmet, or
I couldn't tell. It felt like it was something in the structure of the wall, but I don't know.
yeah. Maybe one of those mirrors that are used so that you can see
I
what's coming from a different angle.
I just kind of overlooked that. I'm like, all right, listen, this is important. I'll just overlook the whole.
Where was this one shiny reflective place?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was a little suspicious, but
yeah. But at any rate, yeah. So him discovering that, obviously, then he's they're out waiting for him outside his office, and they're all in their what do you want to call them? Their SWAT outfits.
Yeah, that was a little strange. It's like, why was that necessary? That didn't make any sense to me.
Why not just send 4 guys into his thing with guns drawn and saying you're under arrest? Yeah.
I guess they were.
You got to see this.
They were playing up the Delenn thing.
Yeah.
Again, unnecessary.
Maybe just kind of tying the scenes together.
Yeah.
Well, I think part of it too is, okay, this is a guy who's just shot our boss in the back. What is he capable of doing? And
right.
and he's Garibaldi's number 2 man. He's got training. He knows all of the procedures that we normally supposed to use. So, it's not like you're just, doing a perp walk and grabbing the guy off the street.
Yeah.
Some punk. You're grabbing your boss, essentially. Excuse me, cat.
I was gonna say, I hear cat.
I think part of that, the whole the tactical outfit.
And maybe they all wanted to be in on it.
Well, and I think
kind of a revenge thing.
Too.
Yeah.
But the other part of it too is, if we're going to pick him up, we're going to grab him. What preparations has he made? Maybe he's walking around with a doomsday bomb on him, with a dead man switch. All I got to do is just click my teeth and boom, take out half the station. So
wouldn't be the first time we saw somebody that,
and cops do like to put on their fancy gear.
They're rough and tumble stuff.
Yeah, they're SWAT stuff.
Their camo.
Lou leads the charge here and then makes it clear that he's willing to take care of this problem on the down low.
Yeah.
And maybe that would have been the better option.
Maybe.
Clearly we come to find out.
Yeah, there's an interrogation scene, right? Where he's not restrained, by the way.
You notice that? They don't see. I guess they don't need restraints. Maybe his feet were tied.
I thought the lighting was very interesting in that that scene.
Yeah.
they're like purposefully lighting him so that he looks hollow and his eyes are and even Garibaldi looks a little, unusual, like little, not the usual way they light.
It
things, but
was I don't think it was just lighting. I think it was the camera, the lens used was a little.
Yeah, it was a little bit shallow. I think it was probably a little bit shallower depth of field. But with the lighting, your Jack. Interesting how many shadows are on his face.
Right. Well, clearly they were trying to.
Yeah,
what
they're
is that subconscious implication or
yeah
foreshadowing perhaps?
Yeah,
so
but
what the heck is this? What's that guy's name? The number two, I don't know, I can never remember his name.
I don't think they ever gave him. He's listed on IMDb as Garibaldi's aide, but
his name is Jack.
Is Jack? So.
Yeah.
I think it's mentioned in the like the end of credits. I don't think he's ever called that though, but
he's just called Garibaldi's aide. Yeah.
So Garibaldi's interrogating him, going through the stuff, and they kind of have him dead to rights. And Garibaldi's, mentions that he it wasn't treason. Basically, he shot a superior officer, so they could space him. Right. Yeah. But, he was trying to get some information out of him, and, Garibaldi's looking at the Earth, Earth First thing. And he said, what did he say? He said something like, they are
the Home Guard. They're a bunch of
misfits.
Those are a bunch of misfits. This is bigger, basically.
Right. And so that's a pretty big revelation there, right? That, and it's like, oh, okay. Because again, throughout the first season, we saw these various references to things like Earth First or other various movements. Psycho, we know, was messing around with stuff, and then we saw the military guys doing various things, and so he's pretty much said, yeah, this is way bigger, like you just said, Jeff, and so. That I don't know. I mean, we don't know what the answer is, but it's kind of collapsing things down a little bit. I mean,
he's got a little bit of shadow. There's some foreshadowing. I mean, it's like,
there's something there, but he also gives the old "be seeing you," which of course is a Prisoner reference.
Oh yeah,
who else
not a number.
I
am a free man.
we saw Bester say the same thing, right?
Yeah,
we did. So, it makes you wonder if.
So it seems to be pointing to Psychor, maybe.
Which is the conversation that Garibaldi and Talia have at toward the end of the episode. Is like, hey, here's this suspicious behavior. Now this comes after Sheridan's had his conversation with the president, put him on a ship, send him here with all of the, not with copies of the evidence. But
all the evidence.
Put it in a box.
Everything.
Put it in a banker box.
And
put it all in there. I'll personally oversee.
And so when all of it vanishes and Sheridan's like, well, it's all gone. I was like, didn't you make a copy?
That's what I'm wondering.
Backup.
Okay, you're so original. We made copies.
What?
We got to have something to leak to ISN, right?
It's like it's like the British Film Institute. They have a copy of Star Wars. It's like, oh, hey, let's scan it and make a Blu-ray out of it. I mean, it boggles my mind that they would sit there and not make a copy of everything.
Yet Lizzie has a copy of a message that she got from her best friend from way back when.
I know. Right. Like, wait, hold on. How does this work?
10 years ago.
I mean, clearly it's easy to make copies.
We do. Okay, so there's another important contrast here, right? President Clark himself calls up Sheridan, and we have this whole scene where it leads into what you guys are talking about.
Not a senator.
That's right. In contrast to season 1, where Sinclair couldn't get anybody with any real authority on the line if his life depended on it.
Random senator.
Right. And for this. Okay, it's important, but it wasn't a crisis necessarily, an active crisis like they had in season 1. So, that stands out pretty strongly, right?
Yeah. Because knowing how things work nowadays, modern era, I don't know that kind of conversation would even happen. Much less, I'm taking personal responsibility for the investigation. Like, no. You're president of the United States. You're president of Earth Alliance. You have a certain set of responsibilities. You do not have the time or the wherewithal
Or
to
most
be
likely the
doing
skill
any
set.
kind of, or the skill set to be
Yeah.
doing any kind of investigation. You have people for that.
Mm-hmm.
It's every now and again, as much as I am enjoying the show, every now and again there's scenes like that pull me out, and I'm looking at the person who's writing this is hand of the writer. This is a hand of the writer scene.
Right. Yeah.
This is
clearly.
not. This makes absolutely no sense in the real world circumstances that it would be like this, because it would never happen this way.
Oh, never. Yeah. No.
Now,
But it
I would
has to happen because the plot says it's got to happen.
But the implication is clear. I mean, he definitely wanted to make that implication that the president, former vice president,
He's in on it.
is in on it. Yeah. Yeah. He's part.
Now, I
he's
mean,
part of the. Especially with him disappearing and all the materials disappearing with it. He's the one who asked for him and all the material to be sent with him on the prison ships that I thought they were too expensive to send people on, but apparently
So,
not.
There's a couple of things. I think Jason's right. It's a little suspicious. Now, I can sort of write that off a little bit in the saying that, okay, you know, he is the vice president. I mean, if the president has been assassinated, I mean, remember, no one knows this. I mean, that would be something that would be very important that you would want to know about. And I could see him taking a personal interest in it, and needing to have the information at his fingertips, in a sense, in order to to deal with it, the political fallout. It'd be a big political fallout. Now,
Right.
I mean, he would appoint somebody and that sort of thing. But I think that, I mean, I agree. They're really getting. I mean, it's very obvious that, I mean, even Sheridan, like when the president's like, "Oh, I need this information," he has this sort of look on his face, and it's kind of a little skeptical, right? Like right off the bat, you're getting that idea. Now, at the very end, it's pretty obvious to the audience at the end that the vice president is in on it. I mean, he says that he wants this information so badly, and then the prisoner disappears on some other ship. All the information disappears. And when Sheridan tries to call him and say, "Hey, you know that thing that you were so interested in that you called me personally on? There's been a big problem with getting you the information. It's disappeared." He doesn't even take his call.
Well, and
that is very, very suspicious. It's pretty obvious that there's something going on, right?
That's what I'm talking about with that scene being hand of the writer, because it's clearly telegraphing ahead. You guys, this. But for him to sit there and say, I'm personally going to supervise, and I don't think we're being too literal. He literally says, I'm taking over
personal responsibility. Yeah, I'm personally going to oversee this.
And I get it with, like Stop saying, with the compartmentalization and all of that, but let's game this out for a second. Let's say that somebody manages to take out the president of the United States.
Right.
The vice president becomes the new president, and he's going to say, "Okay, I'm going to take out." And to Michael's point, sure, I'm going to take responsibility for it. But the people that are actually doing it are going to be the FBI, the Secret Service, probably the local,
the Attorney General,
the Attorney General's office, all of the Department of Justice, all of these different law enforcement branches, maybe even the CIA, depending on who it is they figure out did it. But you're not going to contain. I mean, granted, we've only been a few days since the incident has happened. First,
was it 8 days now?
Something like that.
Yeah, maybe a little more.
So at some point, it's going to come out the president was assassinated. You can't contain that kind of information for very long, if at all.
Well, that depends.
But for Clark, for President Clark to say, "I'm taking personal responsibility," it's not like he's going to be the only one involved, which just goes back to hand of the writer in that scene to clearly implicate him in the audience's mind. Well, he's in on it. Yeah. He knows something. He's going to do it, because the way it plays out, I mean, the music even underscores it. When Sheridan's like, "Hang on, this feels a little hinky," which if you're suspicious about stuff, make a copy of the stuff that you're sending.
Right. I mean, is it hard?
Yeah.
Maybe
to
those
Michael's point,
crystals cost way too much money. I don't know.
to Michael's point, I didn't take it literally that he was going to investigate it. To me, that just means when politicians say that, it just means that they're having a personal interest for whatever reason, and they're going to be briefed regularly, on
They're
what's
going to be,
going on.
yeah, they're going to be
asking
overseeing
questions, and that their subordinates should be like, "Hey, we make sure we have the information about this all the time because they're going to keep asking questions."
And we don't know the
Drake. That's what I agree.
Okay,
That's basically what it means to me.
there's a little
Makes
bit of a disconnect here because, and you could explain some of it because Sheridan is new here,
right.
but Garibaldi and Ivanova witnessed this weird stuff going on, and maybe they didn't compare notes, but the whole thing about be seeing you and Earth First or Jokers, and if they took the time to put all this together, well,
they should have made copies.
You would think, right, that there would be enough suspicion to say there's something wrong here.
You would make copies anyway, just in case it got lost being sent there, and
exactly.
They're like, "Hey, we lost it. Give us the copies."
Yeah, and now bearing in mind that this is also 30 years ago, right? Where now we just accept that everything is forever, right?
Well, I don't know. I saw something on. I think it was one of the list 25 things where they were talking about, until 2013, the FBI. 2013, the FBI was still dealing with paper records.
Well,
so,
but those were still backed up.
We're talking 9 years ago.
Yeah, they were backed up and copied 10 somewhere.
What are you talking about? This year, we found out that our Social Security records or whatever were stored in a cave.
Well, I knew that.
And those are really cool caves. We've got them here.
I hope they sell them off. Be looking into that.
And it's interesting.
But those are backups. That's good. I mean,
well, I mean,
no, it's not backups.
No, those aren't backups. The paper records are the
they're
original.
Still using paper, yeah. But
and
Iron Mountain
process,
yeah,
of scanning those in to digital. So there's some of those paper records that's the only place where they exist, and they're making the copies. But that just goes to the point. If you've got all of this documentation, you're going to be making multiple copies, because say there's an investigation that involves both, the FBI, Department of Justice, CIA. You're going to have copies of all of the stuff for all of those different agencies to process and go through in order to coordinate the investigation. You can't just work off of one copy of the record. It makes no sense at all.
Well,
I mean, your investigative team is going to have multiple. They're going to have copies, for the different agencies that are investigating too. So
yeah,
they also have the testimony of, the memories of people. It's not like they lost all the information. They know what happened.
Yeah.
These things came from reports that someone wrote. In much of it at least. So that's kind of a hand waving thing. It's like,
nothing to see here.
They got rid of, so anyway, but we find out about this whole thing that, the guys disappeared. Basically there was a transfer. It was all legal. But suddenly no one knows what happened, which in itself it's like, well, if it's all legal and there's all records of it, then where is it? That should be something someone should be able to make an inquiry about. And then, their superior would say, shut up, don't look here.
But again, where did I thought prisoner transport ships were too expensive? Remember?
No. That's just to get rid of refugees or
Oh, okay.
Prisoners. They can do it. Oh no, you're right. It was for the murderer guy, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, this guy's more important, I guess. So.
That's why we mind wiped him instead.
It's the government. It's never
killer.
to. If the government thinks it's important, then no.
Yeah. No amount of taxpayer money we won't need. It was
we won't waste. Yeah, there's no limit to the amount of taxpayer money we'll waste if we deem it to be important, right? Yeah. Like covering my ass that I engineered the assassination of my predecessor.
Hey,
right?
What are you talking about? Nuh-uh.
All right, should we get to the?
I'm pretty much convinced that Clark's in on it. I mean,
so
pretty obvious.
Well, I think the implication is not just subtle. I think it's seeping in that implication. It's drenched in it. It's like dressing. like
It's very, very, very hand wavy and in your face.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's clear that Clark, um, in conjunction with the Cyclops and obviously Bester's in there. And I think Psychor themselves is trying to pull the strings, right? I think they arranged it, which means somebody from Psychor, I suspect, was involved with these shadow people. But that's my speculation. I don't know.
I actually,
Or at
it's
least
actually
they're
kind of
now.
interesting that, I mean, Clark would, I mean, if I was Clark and I was doing this, I probably would not have sent, I would not have called. I want to maintain some plausible deniability. So you wouldn't want to talk to Sheridan at all, actually.
Right.
Send one of your flunkies and then you can say, oh, he did it on, you can blame him later. He knew about it. He did it on my behalf. I didn't know nothing about it. But
Yeah. It's kind of that separation, the wall of
yeah.
separation.
So it's pretty obvious.
Keep your hands clean when they're
Yeah,
not.
he's Clark should know better to get his hands dirty. But
the question is who's the one who made the deal with the bad guys in the universe? If that's what happened, was it somebody like Bester? That's like the complicit in this conspiracy, or was it the vice president? I think the vice president who became president is just I think he's just a political puppet, to be honest.
that would be my guess as well. But
yeah.
Well, here's the thought, and we may get this, played out.
Who's number
later.
one?
You are number 6.
What if President Clark is also compromised by somebody like Morden?
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm implying.
He's
I don't
a figurehead.
I don't know if it's actually Clark that is, or somebody more like Bester, or somebody in Psychor that is made contact with this.
My guess
shadow
would
people.
be these shadows are working to weaken the various races before they get in there, and that so far now, Earth Force, the humans have been compromised. They have a leader that is sympathetic to them or will do what they say, and they're working through Lando, working on the Centauri.
Well, they're kind of anti-alien too, in a way.
Yeah.
So.
Well, they don't care about that. That's just.
I mean that the Earth First movement is a thing, right? So. They don't want all these alien influence on Earth Dome, which they keep on using Earth Dome all of a sudden. Do they use Earth Dome a lot in the last season? I don't remember.
I don't remember if they did.
They mentioned it occasionally.
Yeah, I mean, they changed up the graphics. Babcom looks a little different now, and all that stuff. But at any rate,
they got the money.
Yeah, well, yeah. Clearly, they got a little boost. I think we talked about it last show. More extras seem to be on in scenes where it's appropriate.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the spaces don't look so empty. Clearly, some signage is improvements, and even the graphics, the special effects are a little bit better. So they stepped it up a notch.
So is there any more on the Garibaldi and the assassination stuff?
I mean,
move on.
I think they kind of leave that as a hanging Chad. For the next episode probably, or a couple episodes down the line. Delenn, I think, is going to be an interesting. I mean, she's got hair now.
Yeah.
She managed to grow really long hair in a very short period of time. That was kind of impressive.
Well, that's okay. So,
but she still got the little weird head thing.
We should probably talk about the big reveal, right?
Yeah.
Which is they have the council meeting again, and Lanier comes in and kind of strangely asks if Delenn can retake her, position on the council, which of
Mm-hmm.
course they say yes, she does, and we get the big reveal that you were just mentioning.
Yeah. And I mean, I I don't know if she's probably not up to speed on the stuff that's been going on other than what she knew before she went into the chrysalis.
I
Or
imagine
cocoon.
Nier's been talking to her though, because we've seen him talking to her while she's in there.
And
And now the
cleaning
question,
up the goo on the
how much did she hear while she was in the cocoon? How aware was she?
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I mean, that's who knows. I think it'll be interesting to see, and then of course Sheridan seems kind of sweet on her. I think his jaw dropped. I think that's the expression he used, wasn't it? His jaw dropped.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when he was talking to his sister, which
Yeah, because this is his first time meeting her, right? Because she was
Yeah.
in the cocoon before he got there.
when he showed up, she's in the cocoon. So he's only met Lanier. So, and we don't know if he's met Veer yet because
So
we haven't seen Veer yet.
yeah. So anything? Is there anything? I mean, we're getting near the end here, gentlemen.
Yep.
Is there anything we missed?
Let me see.
I thought it was interesting that the two Narn, 2-3 Narn are sacrifice themselves to get Jakar out there. I think that gives us a little bit more. I found that a little interesting, giving us a little bit more about the Narn, how they operate, and also the respect that they might have for Jakar.
Yeah.
A little bit about
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah,
I thought that was interesting.
Let's see.
Any other smaller things that anyone wants to mention?
I think it's interesting that they don't want to send another ship. That's kind of odd. They don't want to send a ship to investigate. Nope. It's kind of like they kind of like pulled the same thing that Earth Dome, if you want to call them Earth Force, whatever, did. It was with Sinclair at the very end, where he said, "We don't, this ends now. You're not going to talk about it. Yada yada yada. Cut it off. Or no more investigation." Now we got an investigation. Oh no, really? What? There was a plot? I think it's kind of the same thing with Jakar and with the Narn government. They just kind of like they lost a ship and they don't want to go investigate it. That seems kind of weird. I don't know. Does that not?
Well, I guess the question is the ship that went to investigate. How much is that the Narn government sending it, and how much of it is Jakar sending it?
Yeah.
Did he call in a personal favor that maybe that ship is there unauthorized? And we've seen, like, to the snob's point, we've seen now a degree of loyalty that people have to Jakar. And last season, there's the faith aspect, the religious component. He's apparently not necessarily a religious leader per se, as far as like an elder in a church or anything, but he was leading a worship service. Yeah, he was
Yeah.
Well, I
leading
think
the ceremony.
I think he is like an elder in a church.
Well, he could be, and his primary designation, of course, ambassador. But I think there's a religious component, and I think that relationship is maybe deeper than we might have seen up until this point. So there's a degree of loyalty and dedication that the people have, at least a certain group of people among the Narn population, that holds Jakar in high regard. So it could very well be that that ship is part of that contingent that thinks that Jakar is a bee's knees. We're going to do whatever we can for him. And that ship goes out there on his say so, and not as an official government assignment. So maybe that's why we don't send another ship because that.
I don't
first
know
one
if that's.
was
We don't know if that's true.
That's true.
I think that there is some indication of that, because remember when he sent the ship for to chase down Catherine, that was on his authority. Basically,
That was a much smaller ship, though.
No,
Well,
it was
true,
it was a
but-
capital ship as well.
But yeah,
Wasn't
but
it?
Cam's right. Cam's right.
Oh no, it might have been smaller ships, but anyway.
Well, they were, but your point stands though, Cam. Is I'm not clearing this through my government. I'm sending them myself.
He's got enough.
I think that's a reach. I mean, it was one or two of the heavy fighters that went to save Sinclair's girlfriend, and this is a bigger ship. I kind of made the assumption that he has the power to. He pushed it, and he probably convinced a lot of the people to go with him. Yeah. But he can only do that. Calling in favors, whatever, using his influence, he can only do that once.
Well,
now a second time, people are like, oh, we gave you what you want the first time, it didn't work out. No, we can't risk another one, type of thing.
No, Drake says it's a lowercase ship, not a capital one.
I think too the other aspect of that too is if Jakar already suspects what's out there, and he's had conversations with the homeworld in order to get the ship out there, other people probably suspect what's out there. Yeah. So the destruction of the ship is probably all they need to confirm what's out there, and now we have to take steps.
Well, and that was 1,000 years ago, right? According to Jaquan.
I would suspect that some of them, first of all, not everyone is Jakar's religion. So there's going to be some that are skeptical. Some of them are going to be like the council and say, well, you've got your religion and this is from your religious text and stuff. But, that's a book that was written 1,000 years ago.
Well,
we want more proof. So there's going to be a little bit of, back and forth of that type, even in the Narn government.
And how long ago was the Minbari thing?
Which thing?
Well, with the last time that supposedly this transformation happened or something like that.
Transformation.
Wasn't it 1,000 years ago?
Oh, the last time anybody went through the chrysalis?
Yeah.
I don't remember when they said.
Or the one. So there seems to be a kind of you see like all this stuff happened 1,000 years ago. The last time you saw the shadow.
Well, that's when Valen was appeared in.
And 1,000 years ago was when Valen appeared, right?
Yeah.
So I wonder if those are religious leaders mostly, right? So I wonder if Jaquan and Valen and if they knew, if they
were like the Justice League, the multicultural Justice League of
interplanetary, something like that. Maybe they were the lanterns of the last millennia.
Yeah. Well, 1,000 years ago, a lot went on then. So.
Yeah. Well, apparently 1,000 years in that timeline. All at about the same time,
Right. Now, what's interesting is that the Narn, again, supposedly this agrarian culture and everything, were they even spacefaring 1,000 years ago?
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't think they were.
Yeah, it's unlikely.
But they somehow
I'm not sure
knew about this.
I mean, we weren't.
Right.
But they knew about this, this battle or.
Yeah, it's something could have happened on their world at that time too.
Or they saw, he saw the ships, maybe something,
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I don't remember the timelines. I mean, were the Centauri spacefaring 1,000 years ago? The Minbari were.
I don't know.
Well, they seem to claim, but they bloviate a lot.
Michael, Michael or Q2Cast, you guys would know. Michael's a deep lore guy. You should know this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right. Any last minute discussion topics, Cam, that we missed?
Nope. I think
we hit everything.
Let's do a wrap up and thoughts on the episode.
All right.
Jeff, do you want to go first?
Oh, sure. I think just like last time with the last episode, there's a marked improvement in the editing. As well as I mentioned just about a few minutes ago about the set dressing, the actors. I think the directing is better. As with the previous, I'm seeing some consistency now. A lot less of those quick rapid fire jump cuts that kind of squirrel. So I think that's last words. Already had my last meal. Long story. But I'm liking the direction that things are going, from a visual and presentation type of thing. I think I'm seeing a gelling maybe, and even Dr. Franklin, his performance has improved. Again, I think that's at the because of the directing. So this episode, I think it was great. I would give it I'd probably give it a 9. Yeah.
All right, Jason.
Next.
I think I'm gonna go 8 out of 10. Just because we've got a couple of things that are very hand of the writer and a little annoying to me. The scene with Clark, the thing at the end where they don't have the copies of the evidence. Those two things really stick out to me and kind of stick in my craw. And I was like, that doesn't work. But other than that, it's a pretty solid episode. We get our first interactions with Garibaldi and Sheridan. See how that goes. There's a little bit more progress with Garibaldi and Talia. We're getting more depth to these characters as the story evolves, as the relationships build, and that's normal. It's natural for season 2 to feel a little bit more solid like that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you're dealing with a new lead actor. So it's good to see we're only 2 episodes in, and it feels like the cast is kind of gelling around Boxleitner
Right.
in a way that they didn't gel around Michael O'Hare. And it not to take anything from from O'Hare's performance, but there really didn't feel like there was chemistry between him and anybody else in the cast. Whereas Boxleitner just kind of slides in there and he's firing on all thrusters with everybody. So I think that's a marked improvement over season 1. We'll see where it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Cam.
I think this was a what I'll call a utility episode. I won't say it's a filler episode because it did forward important storylines throughout, but it wasn't like a strong here this episode is about one particular thing. It kind of addressed a lot of different things, which is fine. In terms of rating, I'd say it's like a 7.5 to 8 out of 10, but that's using my new scale. If this was season 1 scale, it would be a 9.5 or something like that.
See, I haven't changed my scale. I need to get a new scale, huh?
Yeah. If I call it a 9 or something, it's clearly not, because I'll run out of scale, because I know there are other episodes that are way better, way more impactful. Whereas this one's just, it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But like I said, utility episode. I think things are coming together nicely at this point. Performances, seem good. Like Jeff was mentioning, the edits and things are smoother. It's, even this, Jason mentioned the sets look better. They got a new set, a little bigger budget maybe. So it's just a general improvement overall.
With the jazz. Don't forget the jazz.
Right. You got a little money on the music there.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm, things are smooth sailing right now.
Yeah, I agree. Even the hallways have now, like, they go in the hallway and there's like indicators, like what level you're on. It's got a green, a green symbol with a number on it or something like that. So yeah, I think everything's firing better. It was a good episode. The quality is greatly improved from the last season, and we've got we're in the second episode, and both those episodes I say are good. Worth watching. Highly, way better than last season, which was very hit and miss. So yeah, I'm pretty impressed. Two episodes in, and we've got 2 good episodes. One of my complaints about last season was that the first episodes were a little bit weaker, and they might not have drawn you into the series. But yeah, if you jumped in on season 2, you wouldn't have that problem. Yeah, so good. I'm looking forward to more.
I think if you jumped in on season 2, episode 1 or 2, you would probably want to go back and watch the previous season. It would probably, and then you'd be like, oh wow, it did get better. Kind of like we're seeing unfold before our eyes. But you would be in whereas like Jeanette had said, if you dropped in, you'd be totally confused at what's going on in one of the previous episodes that we had talked about. It was just kind of, it was all over the place. I think this one would not have that effect. It would make sense, and then you would be like, but I want to know more, Right. So yeah.
All right, let's go to trivia. Quick trivia, and then we'll end off the show.
Trivia.
Let's do it. Questions for the trivia. What is the name of Sheridan's sister, and how long has it been since he last saw her? What was the name of the ship Sheridan's wife died on? When it blew up, what was the name of the ship? What does G'Kar say is the name of the home world of the ancient enemy? We gave that one out already.
Yep, we did.
How does Garibaldi find out who shot him? And who else has Garibaldi seen give a certain kind of salute?
Oh, okay. I know what you're talking about.
Interesting questions there. Yeah.
I had to think about that one for a second. I don't know if I'd call that a salute, but
yeah, a little salute. Yeah, little sign. All right. That's those are the trivia questions. Answers next week. Tune in to find out if you don't know. Jason, what's going on your show?
Not really much anything. So today we talked about the latest controversy at Worldcon. One of 2 that they're dealing with the Seattle convention this year. Preemptively banning Leslie Varney, who is a literary agent. She's not even an author, she's an agent, but apparently she's got beef with Patrick Tomlinson, and that has resulted in her getting kicked out of Worldcon Seattle. So we talked to her today. We talked to Michael Gallagher, and I don't know tomorrow. See, this thing dropped in my lap today with the Giant Lands Wonderfell meltdown, and I'm like, do I even really want to talk about this? So we might look at that tomorrow. Maybe I don't know that I really want to step into that quagmire again, but yeah, we don't have anything specific going on. Tomorrow night I'll probably be on Thursday Night Throwdown with Comics Division channel, but the rest of the week's kind of hit and miss. I'm not sure what exactly we're going to be talking about because I don't have any guests this week. So
I'm working on that for next.
Yeah, I know. We should see if we should get Steve Deinhardt in and say, hey Steve, you want to come on the show? just really grind in the destruction of everything from the get-go. I mean, it really has come full circle. It's very strange.
Well,
the funny part is I see people talking about the video, right? There's all because this was what 4 years ago now, and they're like all of this. I all saw this controversy about this video and this thing, and people are talking about the video without knowing what the video was,
right?
And as the person who did the video, just like, do I want to get this back out there and be in the middle of this? And I was like, well,
I mean, at least the stuff I'm trying to do is a little lighter,
right? I mean, he's
less controversial.
He has absolutely lost his mind. I don't know if you guys have seen the video that he put out today. It was like, this guy, I don't know what he's smoking, but it's some powerful stuff. So
There's a lot of that out.
All right. Yeah. Tune in tomorrow.
Yeah.
So next week on this show, we're going to be talking about the next episode 3 from season 2, Geometry of Shadows. Madman is going to be a guest host, not a panelist, a guest host, and he's coming in. And if anybody wants to,
that would
if
be a
anybody wants to come-
panelist. He's a
if anybody
guest
wants
panelist.
to come, no, he's gonna, yeah.
We're
If anybody
regular
wants to
panelists.
come, sorry, guest panelists. Then we'll call them.
Yeah. There we go.
If anybody else is in the chat, one of your viewer, you want to come in, just let me know. Let me send me a note on Discord, email, whatever, and say, hey, I'd like to come in and talk about this episode, and we'll put you down in for it. Yeah. So next week, Geometry of Shadows, Madman will add to the panel, and next week's episode, Londo continues to seek prestige and power back home. A group of technomages visit the station, and Ivanova is forced to settle a dangerous dispute among the Drazi population. I've seen this episode, and this one's kind of fun with the Drazi. That's it, kind of a fun
And
portion.
I want
of
to
the story.
I want to give a shout out to Alexander. I talked to him a little bit last night he was live streaming, and he said he might drop by, but I didn't see him pop in the chat.
Yeah.
But he's going through some things with his mom. So thoughts and prayers go out to him, and check out his channel. He's always doing something, playing with Blender or whatnot. So I'm going to give him a shout out in the chat, and folks,
if you want to throw if you got a link you want to throw in there.
Yeah, I do. I just did.
Okay,
So
good.
at any rate, but he's a friend. Jason knows him. So
Yep.
Yeah. But any rate, it's a trap. We've seen him. He's a regular on Sci-Fi for me. Any rate, but yeah, hopefully I'm gonna be able to get a few more guests in the tabletop side of things for the show upcoming weeks, and maybe give a break from the heavy down stuff here. Like, look, here's some stuff that's not woke and not,
Yeah.
not trying to pick a side and so on and so forth. Rob Conley's what I think when I checked last night, he was in his last 60 hours, so I'm sure he's probably in his last 48 hours now, last day or two for his Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Looks like that's doing well. He's got over 500, so good deal. And I think we're closing in on 110,000 for Troll Lord's Adventures backpack, so that's kind of cool. I'm in on that one too. I did have a game on last Saturday too, so I got to play with Chuck Cumbo from Troll Lord Games and a couple of the other Patreons, and about 4.5 hours or so we played. We all died. It was great. We had a good time because I think every one of us had been a DM or game master, or they call it castle keeper, but we'd all been in that kind of role before. So, the fact that my little elf wizard only had 4 hit points, of course I died, but not without taking out that giant. We did take out a giant, and then got eaten.
Okay. And on further on this show, got the Top Lofty Lounge on Sunday, of course. And we're working on Cam and I are working on a topic for that. Hopefully we'll let you know when it's soon. Cam, what did I miss?
Nothing except for to thank everyone for coming, and including our panel, and the chat, which was very lively. So good times.
That's right. And it's Snugs. We don't mind. You can be your, feel free to be yourself. Trolling and making jokes. That's perfect. Good.
We love that.
Oh, I meant to say there was a new person in the chat that I hadn't seen before. What was it? Ovid? Sorry, I didn't get your name right. Sorry, Oz Wasram. I don't know if I pronounced that right, But yeah, welcome. I haven't seen you before. Welcome to the chat. Yeah, awesome. All right, that's it for the show. Thanks everyone for coming, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, join the Discord.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.